All right, strap yourselves in, folks, because today we're going deep on a topic that's, well, let's just say it's got a bit of an X-Files vibe to it. Secret space programs. Yeah, you heard that right. We're talking about the possibility that there's a whole lot more going on out there in the cosmos than we're being told.
Exactly. We're going to be wading through claims of hidden technologies, clandestine missions, even potential encounters with, beings not exactly from around these parts.
Right. It's the kind of stuff that makes you want to grab your tinfoil hat, but hold on. We're going to try and approach this with a critical eye, examining the evidence and separating the wheat from the chaff, so to speak.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance between open-mindedness and healthy skepticism.
For sure. And our primary source material for this deep dive, well, it's the story of Gary McKinnon, the guy who basically pulled off one of the biggest hacks in history, right? We're talking NASA, the Pentagon, pretty much every branch of the U.S. military.
16 NASA computers alone, plus systems belonging to the Army, Navy, Air Force, Department of Defense. I mean, the scope of it is just mind-boggling.
And here's the thing. He wasn't doing it for money or to cause chaos. He was on a quest, a genuine search for something he believed was being hidden from the public.
He was convinced that the government was suppressing information about free energy, UFO activity, advanced technologies, all that stuff.
Yeah, like the kind of tech that could completely change the world as we know it. And what he claimed to have found, well, that's where things get really interesting. We're talking about lists of something called non-terrestrial officers, hints of a secret space fleet, maybe even missions to Mars.
It's definitely a rabbit hole, no doubt about that.
Hold on, non-terrestrial officers. That sounds like, I don't know, like Star Trek or something. What exactly did he find that made him think that?
Well, he described an Excel spreadsheet, of all things, that listed names, ranks, even details about, it looked like material transfers between ships.
Hmm.
He interpreted this as evidence of some kind of structured organization involving beings that weren't, well, human.
Wow. Okay, so not just random UFO sightings, but maybe some kind of organized group, maybe even a military structure operating out there. That's a whole other level of wow.
It definitely raises a ton of questions, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
what's really going on out there? Who's involved? And why all the secrecy?
So many questions. And here's the thing. McKinnon isn't the only one who's made these kinds of claims, right? We've got other folks, some with pretty impressive credentials who've come forward with similar stories.
Yeah, like Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the sixth astronaut to walk on the moon. He's hinted at the possibility of what he called back-engineered alien technology.
Wait, hold on. Back engineered alien tech? You mean like we got our hands on some alien spacecraft and figured out how it worked?
That's the implication.
Hmm.
Basically, that some of our technological advancements might not be entirely homegrown.
That's mind-blowing. So are we talking about like reverse engineering a crashed flying saucer in some secret government lab? It sounds like something straight out of a movie.
Well, the specifics are kind of murky, but Mitchell was pretty clear that, in his opinion, there's stuff out there that's been kept under wraps.
Okay, so we got a hacker, an astronaut, both pointing towards this idea of a hidden world of super advanced tech. Anyone else, like maybe someone in a position of authority, ever say anything that suggests there might be a, I don't know, a shadowy government calling the shots behind the scenes?
Well, funny you should use that phrase, shadowy government, because it actually comes from Senator Daniel Inouye, served in the U.S. Senate for almost 50 years, highly respected guy. And he kind of alluded to the existence of this powerful entity operating outside the usual channels, beyond any real oversight.
Wow, it's a pretty heavy statement coming from a senator. But did he ever say exactly what this shadowy government might be up to?
He was pretty cryptic about it, unfortunately. Didn't give any specific details, but yeah, he expressed some serious concerns about the potential abuse of power and lack of accountability. Makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It's like we're getting these glimpses into a world that's right there, just beneath the surface of what we're told, a world where advanced tech and maybe even, non-human entities are playing a role.
And it's not just coming from Americans either. Think about Paul Hellyer, the former Canadian defense minister. He's on record saying that, well, not only have aliens visited Earth, but they've actually tried to help us.
Wait, what? Aliens offering to help? That's a pretty big claim. What kind of help were they supposedly offering, and why would we turn them down?
Well, according to Hellyer, these extraterrestrial visitors were concerned about the path humanity was on, our destructive technologies, our environmental practices, that kind of stuff. He said they reached out, offered guidance, but we met them with hostility.
Seriously. So instead of welcoming them with open arms and learning from their advanced knowledge, we basically told them to take a hike. Man, if that's true, that's kind of embarrassing, don't you think?
It definitely challenges the whole "take me to your leader" narrative we see in the movies, doesn't it?
It does. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Okay, so we've got a hacker, an astronaut, a senator, and a former defense minister all hinting at something extraordinary happening behind the scenes. That's a pretty diverse group of voices, wouldn't you say?
It's definitely food for thought. And it kind of sets the stage for our deep dive today. We got to go back to Gary McKinnon, though, and really examine those claims of his. What exactly did he say he found in those computer systems?
Yeah, let's dig into that. We've touched on the non-terrestrial officers thing and the possible secret space fleet, but what else did he say he uncovered?
Well, one of the most intriguing claims he made involved the discovery of information suggesting, get this, a space navy, like a full-fledged military branch operating in space, complete with personnel serving extended tours of duty, potentially on the moon or even Mars.
Hold on, a space navy? That's straight out of Star Wars. Are we talking about a whole military branch operating in space? Like on other planets? What made him think that?
He described finding evidence of personnel transfers, ship logs, that kind of stuff, indicating a level of organization and activity that goes way beyond anything we're publicly aware of.
So it's not just about having cool spaceships. It's about the infrastructure, the personnel, the logistics of maintaining a presence in space, potentially even on other planets. That's next level stuff.
Right. It suggests a scale of operation that would require significant resources, advanced technology, and a level of secrecy that's, well, pretty mind-boggling.
It's almost too much to wrap your head around, isn't it? Like, how could something of that magnitude be happening without anyone knowing? But if it's true, it raises so many questions. What are they doing out there? What kind of tech are they using? And why all the secrecy?
Those are all questions we're going to be exploring today. But before we go too far down that road, we got to ask, is McKinnon the only one talking about this space navy?
Right. Are there any other sources, any other accounts that back up his story?
Actually, there are a few. One comes from William Tompkins, retired aerospace engineer who worked for some big-name companies during the Cold War.
Okay, an aerospace engineer from the Cold War era. That sounds like someone who might have seen some interesting things. Did he specifically mention a space navy?
He didn't use that exact term, but he described a program where personnel were signing up for 20-year tours of duty, potentially serving on the moon or Mars. He did call it a space navy in his retelling, but he never worked directly for the military.
Wow, 20-year tours. That's a huge commitment. And serving on the moon or Mars? I mean, that implies we have some pretty serious capabilities when it comes to space travel and, well, building stuff on other planets.
It definitely paints a picture of a long-term, sustained presence in space, way beyond anything we've seen publicly.
So we're talking about a potential program that's been going on for decades, maybe involving thousands of people, operating in secret on other planets. This is getting wild.
It's definitely a lot to take in. But before we jump to conclusions, there's another account I want to bring up. This one comes from a woman known only as Jackie, who claimed to have worked for NASA during the Viking missions to Mars back in the 70s.
Okay, Jackie from NASA, what's her story? Did she see any evidence of this space navy operating on Mars?
Hers is a little different. She claimed to have witnessed something pretty extraordinary while monitoring telemetry data from the Viking lander. She described seeing two figures in what she called protective suits walking towards the lander.
Wait, hold up. Two figures walking on Mars. Are we talking about humans? Aliens? What kind of protective suits?
She described them as being different from the bulky spacesuits astronauts wore back then, suggesting a level of tech that, well, wasn't publicly known.
So she's saying there might have been humans, or at least, humanoid beings, already on Mars during the Viking missions. That's a huge claim.
It definitely challenges the official narrative that humans have never set foot on Mars, right? And it kind of lines up with some of the other claims we've been talking about.
This is blowing my mind. We got a potential secret space fleet, non-terrestrial officers, a space navy, and now possible human activity on Mars decades ago. It's like all the pieces of a giant puzzle are starting to come together.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to be careful and not get carried away with speculation. We got to examine each piece of evidence carefully and consider all the possible explanations.
Right, gotta stay grounded. So, while McKinnon's claims are pretty wild, are there any other sources backing up his story, or is he the only one talking about a space navy?
Actually, there are other accounts that seem to kind of line up with his. One comes from William Tompkins. Remember him? Retired aerospace engineer.
Oh, yeah, right. The guy from the Cold War era.
Exactly. Now, while he didn't use the exact term space navy, He described a program involving personnel signing up for these 20-year tours of duty, potentially serving on the moon or Mars.
Wow, 20-year tours, that's a long time. And serving on the moon or Mars. That implies some pretty incredible capabilities when it comes to, space travel and building stuff on other planets.
It really does. It suggests a level of sustained activity that goes way beyond anything we've seen from, like, NASA or other space agencies.
So we're talking about a potential program that's been going on for decades, maybe even involving thousands of personnel operating in secret on other planets. This is getting seriously intriguing.
It is, isn't it?
Mm,
But we got to be careful and not get too caught up in the excitement. We need to examine the evidence, consider all the possibilities, and try to maintain that balance between, curiosity and a healthy dose of skepticism.
right. Got to keep our heads on straight. So we've got this potential secret space fleet, non-terrestrial officers, a space navy, and maybe even human activity on Mars way back in the 70s. It's a lot to process.
It is. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to explore. But maybe we should take a break here and come back to it in our next deep dive.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. My brain's about to explode. We've covered a lot of ground today, and I have a feeling we're just getting started.
You got that right. This is just the beginning of our exploration into the world of secret space programs. So buckle up, folks, because there's a whole lot more to come.
So we've laid out some pretty wild claims about, secret space programs, hidden technologies, maybe even aliens. But before we go full on conspiracy theory, gotta take a step back, right? Look at all this with a critical eye.
Absolutely. Got to keep our heads on straight. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement, but we need to be careful. Examine the evidence.
Right. Gotta be discerning deep divers, not just blindly accepting everything we hear. Okay, so let's put on those critical thinking caps. What are some of the big questions we gotta ask when looking at these claims? Where do we even start trying to separate fact from fiction?
Well, got to start with the source.
Mm.
Who's making the claim? What's their background? Does they have any, like, biases or reasons that might be coloring their story?
So credibility, right. Like with Gary McKinnon, yeah, he was a brilliant hacker, but does that automatically make him a reliable source when it comes to secret government programs?
It's a good question. I mean, his hacking skills are undeniable, but we got to remember he was looking at that data through his own lens, right? He already believed all this stuff, so that could have shaped how he interpreted what he found.
Yeah, it makes sense. We all see things through our own filters, don't we? So we got to be aware of that, both in ourselves and in the sources we're looking at.
Exactly. It's also important to think about the context. Like when McKinnon was doing his hacking, there was this huge surge in public interest as UFOs, conspiracy theories, all that could have influenced him.
Yeah, like maybe it made him more likely to see what he wanted to see. So historical and cultural context, got it. But what about the other folks we talked about, like Dr. Mitchell, the astronaut, and Senator Inouye? Those seem like pretty credible figures.
They do. Impressive backgrounds, no doubt. But it's worth noting that their statements about hidden tech and shadowy government stuff, it was often just kind of offhand remarks, part of a bigger conversation.
So we're working with snippets of info out of context.
Kinda, yeah. It's like trying to put together a puzzle with only a few pieces. You get a general idea, but there are a lot of holes.
Right. Lots of gaps to fill in. And those gaps can get filled with, well, speculation, imagination, maybe even wishful thinking.
Exactly. Even the most credible people can be wrong sometimes, or, they can be misled.
So, gotta take it all with a grain of salt. Can't just assume it's all true just because someone important said it. What about the government, though? Haven't they denied all this, said there are no secret space programs?
Officially, yeah. They usually just dismiss it as, conspiracy theories, unfounded rumors.
But doesn't that kind of fuel the fire, though? I mean, it just makes people more suspicious, like they're hiding something.
Oh, for sure. Lack of transparency can be worse than the actual secret sometimes. Erodes trust, creates this whole climate of suspicion.
So how do we navigate this? How do we separate the real deal from the smoke and mirrors? It's like we're walking through a minefield.
Well, that's where critical thinking comes in, right? You got to ask those tough questions. What's the evidence? Is it solid? Can it be verified? Are there other explanations that haven't been considered?
So got to be like detectives, right? Examining the evidence, looking for holes in the story, considering all the angles.
Yep, that's the idea. And we got to be aware of our own biases too, It's easy to fall into that trap of only seeing what we want to see.
Like that saying, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You start seeing evidence everywhere, even if it's not really there.
Exactly. Got to be open to the possibility that we might be wrong, that our understanding isn't complete. But on the flip side, we can't just believe something because it sounds cool or fits with our worldview.
Okay, so curiosity check. Skepticism, double check. It's a tricky balance, though.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a balance we got to keep in mind as we continue our deep dive today.
Mm-hmm.
Got to allow ourselves to be fascinated by the possibilities while staying grounded in, well, in the need for evidence.
Right. It's like we're standing at the edge of this vast unknown, and we're getting these glimpses of something incredible, but it's hard to know what's real and what's just, I don't know, wishful thinking.
It is. And that's what makes this whole topic so fascinating and so frustrating at the same time. It invites us to explore the unknown, question what we think we know, and wrestle with the idea that the world might be a whole lot more complex than we ever imagined.
Well said. This is definitely a lot to take in, but I'm ready for more. Let's keep going down this rabbit hole.
Let's do it.
Let's
I'm
do it.
curious to see what other rabbit holes we can uncover.
All right, so we've been on quite a journey, haven't we? Through hacked computer systems, whispers of a space navy, even claims of human-like figures on Mars.
It's been a deep dive, that's for sure. Deep dive into a world that, well, let's just say it challenges a lot of what we think we know about reality.
It does, and as we resurface from this sea of speculation, it's a good time to take stock, right? Think about what we've learned, what it all means.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground from Gary McKinnon and his claims of non-terrestrial officers to William Tompkins and his stories of a space navy to Jackie and her alleged encounter on Mars. We even went interstellar with the solar warden thing.
Whoa, yeah, that was a trip, Solar Warden. That's some next level stuff. But through it all, I think one of the biggest takeaways, at least for me, is the importance of, well, of not just believing everything you hear. Got to keep that critical thinking cap on, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement, the intrigue, the what ifs. But we got to be careful, got to examine the evidence, weigh the possibilities, and yeah, keep that critical eye sharp.
So for our listeners out there who are maybe feeling a little overwhelmed, a little unsure of what to believe, what would you say are some key things to remember when trying to sort through all this?
Well, first off, remember that the lack of proof isn't necessarily proof that something doesn't exist. Just because we haven't found concrete evidence doesn't mean it's not out there.
Right. Just because we haven't seen it with our own eyes doesn't mean it's not happening.
Exactly. But on the flip side, we can't just accept something as true just because it sounds cool or fits into our existing beliefs. Got to be careful of that confirmation bias, you know?
Confirmation bias. Oh, yeah. Like when you're looking for evidence to support what you already believe and you kind of ignore anything that contradicts it.
That's it. It's a trap we can all fall into. So got to stay vigilant, got to be willing to challenge our own assumptions. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about this whole topic, isn't it? It forces us to confront the limits of our own knowledge, to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers.
It does. And in a way, that's kind of liberating, isn't it? Realizing that there's so much out there that we don't know, that there's still so much to discover.
It is. It keeps things interesting, keeps us curious, keeps us searching. And even if we never find definitive proof of, secret space programs or aliens, the very act of exploring these ideas can lead us to some pretty amazing insights.
Totally. It expands our thinking, challenges our assumptions, makes us wonder about everything. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the final thought, the big takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
I'd say embrace the mystery. Don't be afraid to ask questions, to explore the unknown, to challenge the status quo. But always, always do it with a critical mind, a discerning heart, and a sense of wonder.
Beautifully said. The universe is a vast and incredible place, full of mysteries and wonders. And who knows what amazing discoveries await us as we continue to explore. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey.
The pleasure was all mine. Keep looking up, folks, and never stop exploring.